Here's my lovely new sketchbook for 2025. This is a Frankenstein sketchbook. It had different paper in it, and the paper was horrible, but the sketchbook was one of the best that I'd ever made. It turned out so well. I decided to cut out the text block that didn't work and put in paper that did. Serendipitously, I finished it the eve of New Year's Eve, so I knew it was perfect for the new year. I created the basic design in Illustrator on the computer, and I did that because I wanted to bloat the 2025 in the middle, and I don't know how to do that, but the computer does. So I did my trick of making it on the computer and then tracing it on the back and then transferring it onto the page. I only made the basic part of the design on the computer because I really wanted to do it by hand, but by doing it by hand, I still don't want it to be sloppy. I don't want to have to erase a ton of times and have a bunch of holes in my paper from using a compass. So I decided this was just the best way to do it. Something I discovered in this process is that if you print your design out on regular printer paper, that paper is a lot sturdier and tougher than regular tracing paper. It doesn't warp as badly. You can keep your design more accurate. For Christmas this year, my son Duncan got me some Winsor Newton drawing ink in ultramarine. This ink has lacquer in it, so you can't put it in a technical pen. So I'm using a dip pen today. Sometimes things just come together. The color of this ink worked so well with the end papers in the sketchbook. I couldn't believe my luck. That being said, one of the challenges I had with this ink was that it's very wet and it takes a while to dry, so it's very easy to smudge. I didn't think I could use a ruling pen with my compass, so for the first part of this, I tried to use the dip pen to go over the circles and draw the circles freehand. I don't recommend that. Later on, I went back and I found a fine liner with a very, very close color, and that works better. There's something about the nibs when you're trying to trace a circle. It just, for me, it doesn't work as well. Maybe I need more practice. Well, always need more practice. But the rest of it worked out pretty well. I didn't have too much trouble other than just making sure that I left enough time for the ink to dry. You know how I said I didn't want to use a compass because I didn't want holes in my paper? Well, okay. I don't have as many holes. And eventually I did figure out how to use a ruling pen with my compass. But I'll tell you, really, just using a fine liner would have worked just as well for part of it. So in the sketchbook, my idea is to just start out in 2025 with this and not to make promises I can't keep, but the idea is that I'm going to do a weekly video of things that I put in the sketchbook. And the idea is not to have it be necessarily finished art or, perfect pieces, but to actually experiment and show the process of how I use a sketchbook. Some of the pages are going to be great. Some of them are going to be completely experimental. And if they're really bad, I won't show them. I won't show the process of doing them. But I use my sketchbook as a workbook. I do my work in it. I've really been struggling with the direction of this channel and whether to really pursue it or not. I don't make very much money doing this channel. I made $7.50 in December. Of course, admittedly, I don't upload regularly like a lot of YouTubers do, but the main thing is I'm more in person and doing things in the real community than I am really online. And mostly that was because I hadn't been doing that in a while, and just getting into some kind of a rhythm was a little bit of a challenge. Working in an open studio with other artists, going to openings and shows and even showing. So this year I want to do both. I didn't even really have to think very much about what design I wanted to put in the front cover of the sketchbook because of it just was so natural that I'm looking for direction, or I'm trying to change direction, go in a positive direction, and a compass rose was perfect. Using a brand new ink and a brand new sketchbook on the first day of the year, it all just came together. That doesn't always happen, so I'll take it, and I'll take it as a sign that things are going to come together this year, and I hope they do for you as well. I think it's fair to really look back on the previous year, 2024, and think about it a lot. What worked, what didn't, and take what works into the next year and let go of the things that didn't work. Here's what didn't work: buying lots of different art supplies. For the most part, that's not very productive for me, but when I get stuck, sometimes it's just so easy to look and see, well, what new supplies can I try? What new colors? What new this? What new that? And so now I have a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to barter with other people or do something with. And they're taking up space in my studio, and they're giving me decision fatigue. So that's something that I'm not going to do this year. I'm not going to be buying a ton of art supplies. I think the things that I'm going to buy are specifically going to be to replace something that I've run out of, or something for a specific project that is coming up that I'm actually planning for and that I know I'm going to use. There's something that I'm actually going to modify. I have kind of leaned into the technical side of the things that I enjoy doing for art, but I think that I've been depending a little bit too much on precision, and it's impaired my productivity to some degree. I think I'm going to let things still be technical, but more conceptual and maybe a little looser. So kind of the way I started out with this design, I started out doing it on the computer just to get like the basic lay of the land, so to speak. But then after that, the rest of it is all conceptual. It's more spontaneous, a little more conceptual, a little more improvisational, and more intuitive. Some of the studio artists where I go have been so informative in the way that they practice. They're not nearly as concerned as we are on YouTube about everything being strictly archival. There's one artist who does stuff on cardboard, like the cardboard that you get from shipping, and they make sculptures out of it. And there are a lot of things where in the past I've held myself back from doing because, oh, that's not archival. I should make sure and only use archival materials. And these artists are really very open about their process and their materials, so when they sell their work, their collectors know exactly what they're getting. So I think it's time to let go of this sort of, I want to say anal retentive tendency to be so just uptight about everything. Something I'm definitely going to continue to do that I've brought in from 2024 and I'm going to take into 2025 is working with other artists. I've had a couple of opportunities to collaborate, and I haven't done it yet because I'm still trying to find my rhythm, and to add another person or persons into that process I'm not ready to do it yet, as exciting as the possibility is. But I am going to continue to be around other creative people all the time and see what they're doing, be inspired by them. I feel like some of the things that I do, other people have taken into their practices, which is also, man, that's the best. You know, they take, when you have this open exchange and what they do adds to your process and what you do adds to theirs, I love that. It's exciting and it's motivating, And it's magic. Something I'm going to work really hard on is staying patient with interruptions when I'm working at home. I love a good flow state. I don't know anybody who doesn't. Any artist who's been in a flow state, and I don't know very many artists who've never been in a flow state, it's the best. And but you can't, it doesn't always work. Creativity doesn't always work on a schedule, but I'm going to work towards that. I'm going to work on starting and stopping and dealing with transitions and interruptions, and so that I can maintain that flow. I'm the poster child for ADHD, and not the hyper kind, but the kind that hyper focuses. So it's been a lifelong challenge for me when I get really focused on something. And the problem with that, it sounds great, but the problem is you can actually hyper focus to the point where you stay stuck on a detail or some aspect of your work that ultimately isn't very important, and you may not even keep it, but you could spend half a day on this one part. And if someone interrupts you, it's just so jarring, and it can be so frustrating, because then you want to get back to it, and it takes so long to get back to it. But this is something that I'm really going to work on this year, because without the support of my family, I wouldn't be able to do this. So it's not really fair to expect the whole world to stop because I happen to be working. And I work different times of day, so that makes it even harder for anybody to work around me. So I'm going to try and get a little bit more structured with my time and my attention. And I can even hear it in my voice. I'm tight because this is really hard for me. It's like the hardest thing. Time management and attention management. Anybody who has any tips on that, leave them for me. And yes, I do take meds for my ADHD, and it was life-changing. I know that a lot of people think that it's overdiagnosed, and that there are a lot of people who just say that they have ADHD because they want the meds. But I'm telling you, it's real. And for those of us who have it, the medication is just, it's life-changing. And I found out that in a few years, my doctor's probably going to wean me off of it because of age. And that just, I don't even know what I'm going to do. It's going to be so difficult. But maybe this next 3 years is the time that I need to figure it out and see if I can find some strategies that work without medication. I wouldn't even bring that up, but it seems to me that through the art house, I have met so many other people who have what I have, and I think that a lot of creative people have it. And so I bring it up because I think it's relevant. Otherwise, I wouldn't. Like, I'm not going to bring up my whole medical history for this channel, but, I think attention is a huge part of creativity. And honestly, time management and attention management are my two very biggest challenges, both creatively and life in general. In 2025, I'm going to continue to apply to shows and show my work and hopefully sell more of it. We'll see how that goes, but that's the plan. I'm going to investigate being part of a workshop as far as teaching a little bit, or facilitating really is more my style than teaching. But I think I can, the skills that I really know, and I have a few, I think I could teach very easily to beginners in watercolor and ink. So I'm going to look into that. There are a lot of 55 and older kind of organizations. There are a lot of community, like through the county park and recreation or the city park and recreation. So I think I'm going to look into that this year as well. I think that could be really a lot of fun. I'm going to spend more time on my my website. That's something that needs attention. I have not been really taking very good care of it, and I had a couple of people look at it and I got some feedback, and I've changed a few things on it, but I really need to focus on that as well. Right now I'm using Squarespace, which I've been using for the last 3 years, and I know I haven't used it to its utmost. I haven't even scratched the surface of what it's capable of. So that's definitely something I'm working on this year. And as well as I need to figure out my marketing strategy as well. So there's a lot to figure out. I filed on my own my first BOIR report, and that's something you have to report if you have an LLC. And so I did that this year for the first time, and it was, man, for something that had me very, I approached it with a lot of trepidation, but it was super simple. If you have ever had to renew a license online, it's kind of like that. It's pretty easy. So that's something I'm going to take into the 2025 year, is not being so afraid of doing the things that you're supposed to do and let that hold me back. So yeah, I'm going to be a little bolder. Lastly, but not least, I'm going to do a lot of experimenting in this sketchbook. So if you want to see that and see what I do in here, and maybe find some things that you want to do in your creative practice, go ahead and give me a subscribe, a like, and that way you won't miss my next video. And I'll see you in the next one, you guys. Take care. Smooches. Bye.